Hey, welcome to Your Best Podcast, your place for conversation, information, and experts to help you live your next best. Today, we are speaking with Kate Palmer, who is a nutritionist and is going to give us all the phenomenal details of how we can have glowing skin at any age. So, I'm very interested in this time, and I'm sure you will be too. So welcome, Kate. So happy to have you here today.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for having me. It's lovely to talk to you.
Oh, man. So first of all, okay, what is beautiful skin to you? Because of course, everyone has a different perspective or opinion on what beautiful skin is.
Yeah, absolutely. I like to always look at the health of the skin as essentially a visible manifestation of the health of your overall body. Because if the cells of your skin are healthy, then the cells in the rest of your body are healthy. So obviously, we all know that, as we age, we get signs of aging on our skin, and there's nothing wrong with that. But actually, an awful lot of that is signs of cellular damage, which is occurring throughout the body. And actually, an awful lot of that can be slowed down, which then will obviously, lessen our chances of all of the sort of diseases of aging. So that's why I really look at skin health, and it's all to do with really the cellular health of of the overall body. And then when we have great skin, obviously we feel more confident, but that really is a reflection of our overall health throughout the body.
So your perspective is that beautiful skin, you're really looking at skin as, okay, this is a telltale sign of the health that's going on inside, which is very interesting, right? Now, most will want glowing skin, desire glowing skin for the vanity aspect of it. So they're wanting, and these types of ideals are different depending on where we are in the world. So for some, it's a very fair light complexion. For some, it's a very tan. So it can be the color of the skin. It can be also, we are seeing like glass skin, really shiny looking skin, just these different trends. But overall, and I have heard this, our skin is the largest organ in the body. And so I like how you're giving us an even deeper look at being able to say, okay, not only, it's fine to want maybe clear skin or smooth skin or these what we consider to be beauty aspects, but you're also saying, hey, this is also a sign of what's going on inside of you. And it can give you a roadmap, let's say, of things that are going on. Is that what we're hearing here?
Exactly. And it's really interesting because we can see what's happening on our skin when we look in the mirror. We can't see what's happening with our internal organs until, the doctor tells us there's a problem. So it's a really great opportunity to treat it. And of course, there's nothing wrong with vanity, that's fine too. But whilst we're doing that, we can actually really improve our overall health and, age well, which I think is what we all want.
Welcome to All's Well Lifestyle. Relax, re-energize, retreat, and remember your highest self wherever you are by joining our virtual retreat center free. Visit allswelllifestyle.com. Yes. Now, so first off, I guess, then let's just begin with what even got you started into focusing on skin. Looks can be deceiving, but you appear very young to have this as a focal point.
Well, that's because my methods work, obviously.
Okay, we love it. So please let us know, what caused you to focus on skin?
Yeah, it was a mixture of things. So I have always had terribly sensitive skin, so I could never use commercial skincare products. So I trained as a cosmetic formulator so that I could make my own products. And I do still sell natural skincare products, but skincare products can only do, so much because they're only addressing the surface of the skin. And I know I still suffered from a lot of issues, eczema and psoriasis and all sorts of things that skincare products just weren't addressing. And I had already trained as a herbalist, and then I went on to train as a nutritionist as well. So I did understand all the sort of, if you really wanted to treat things at a deep level, you have to treat them from the inside. And I sort of realized, well, actually skincare is no different.
Mm-hmm.
You often think of the skin as sort of as being dead, but it's not. Every skin cell has its own blood vessels that channel nutrients to it. So that was really how I got into that. Yeah, obviously, as I say, obviously it works because, yeah, hiding my age here.
Very good. I love it. I love it because ultimately that's what I think many of us want, depending on what the desired aesthetic is, because aesthetics are like styles of clothing. Like, one person may want to present in a certain way, but I think all of us, and also gender wise as well, we all just want to age well. We want to feel vibrant and vital and energetic. And we also want to look well. We want to look well. So we want to enter a room and look well and not look like, are you okay?
Yeah, exactly.
So regardless of where that lands on your style scale for, what you want to present, I think ultimately we just want to feel like we're presenting well and then healthy. So that's cool that it started with you. I feel like so many folks that I talk to, and even for myself with, landing into this, what became a calling for me of life, health, and spiritual coaching, it started with me. It started because I needed help and I needed to figure some big things out. And then as I was doing that, I not only was seeing that it worked, but I was developing then my own method to address things in certain ways where I wasn't seeing the help myself. And it just grew from there. So it sounds like that's the same thing that happened for you. And that's very fascinating because, of course, I know with eczema, psoriasis, rosacea, there's certain conditions that present that oftentimes the doctor will just kind of have we don't really know. Try this kind of cream. Let's see if that works. And it's just can be very frustrating. So this is fascinating. Now, you talk about regeneration, cellular regeneration, and you talk about going on the inside. How did it start for you? Is that the process and I know it varies, I'm sure, for each client, but generally speaking, are you talking about the natural products and applying those? Are you talking about let's dive in further and work on something that is that we've indicated is happening and you're working on the inside? How do you do this? What's your approach?
Yeah, I mean, fundamentally, I think with everything we really start with diet is the most important thing. We all know the expression "you are what you eat," but it is literally true when you think about it. Your cells have to be made out of something, and you get that from what you eat. So there are all sorts of other factors we look at as well with skin health. I mean, there's exercise, there's sleep, there's stress, there's UV exposure to blue light. All of these other things will come into it, and the products that you put on your skin as well obviously will affect the microbiome of your skin. But diet is the number one thing. There is so much that we can do, and so many common skin conditions really get linked back to diet, and it has such a profound effect on hormones. So an awful lot of women that I speak to, they're sort of perimenopausal and menopausal, and they're suddenly getting sort of teenage acne, which they get quite annoyed about. And that, again, there's so much we can do with diet to help ease those hormones back into balance. So yeah, really looking at people's diet, that is sort of the number one fundamental thing we need to address for skin health.
Now, is that something that you discovered as well in your own personal journey as you were kind of healing yourself? And was it a piece of advice that you received, or was it as you were working and learning on helping yourself that you discovered, hey, when I'm eating this or less of this, I'm getting this result?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of that I initially just discovered from, with the eczema, psoriasis, various allergies and things I was told to put all sorts of different creams on them, and they did nothing. And then eventually I realized it was just eating certain things. One of it was just triggered off by gluten,
Mm-hmm.
which no one had suggested was a problem before, but the doctors didn't think of that. And yeah, actually. And then, of course, when I sort of researched into it, I then went on to study at the Skin Nutrition Institute, because I found, oh, there you are, someone else is actually doing whole training courses on this that I've got really interested in. So yeah, and the more I learned about it, the more if you read the research that's out there, that so many of these skin conditions actually can be traced back to diet. And the interesting thing is, it's all the same things come up again and again and again.
Yes. Yes. And see, you said something interesting that I'd like to dive into further, because you're in the UK, I'm in America. And in America, we allow a lot of foods or food-like substances that many other countries do not. I have not been to the UK. I have been to Italy, and you mentioned gluten. And so I know for me, dairy and gluten have an effect on me that it wasn't always the case. But even though I don't get like a stomach pain, like some people may have an immediate reaction where they're like, oh, I'm in pain or something of that nature. It's not that, but I do get like various like, sensations that let me know that it wasn't the best thing I could eat. I was under the impression that this was because of America's policies on food and allowing a lot of substances that aren't the best for us. In Italy, I went for 2 weeks and I was eating pizza, drinking coffee, having wine. And I'm not even talking about the best restaurants pizza. I'm talking about walking the streets and what they consider a street vendor. And I came back fully alive. I came back like, oh, this is the best thing ever. I had lost weight. I didn't feel any of the reactionary things. So my question to you is this, because I'm not familiar with UK's policies. Do you have the same issues? You had gluten come up for you. Is there a lot of preservatives in your foods as well? Where do you stand on that? I think people need to realize that our food isn't the purest. I'm not sure how it is in UK. Please speak to that.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, it's an interesting thing you bring up, actually, because it's quite a common thing that people have said when they're in the US, they have problems with gluten, they come to Europe and they don't. Mm-hmm. And there's various theories have been put forward about that. The most common one being that the wheat that's grown in the US was sort of artificially bred to be very high in gliadin, which is the protein that causes gluten problems. The wheat in Europe doesn't tend to be so high in it, which they think might be why, it's more of a problem there. Other people say, well, it's the huge amounts of glyphosate that's sprayed on in US crops. The thing is, that is sprayed on crops in Europe as well, and in the UK. Every year it comes up for review that, it should be banned because it's been shown to be quite dangerous. And every year they decide, well, yeah, but we want cheap crops. So they license it again. So, yes, there are a lot of potential issues with stuff that's being used and I think it's really in practically all countries now. It's such a shame. Everything is done on the basis of profit, not health. Mm-hmm. And so whilst there are some differences, we don't have things like the high fructose corn syrup in this country, which has caused all sorts of controversy over in the US. But an awful lot of the things here, there are a lot of additives and things which are questionable. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because when you look at levels of sort of celiac disease across the world and gluten intolerance as well, which is a bit more nebulous and they're not really sure of the numbers, but they've been noticing for a while how they're very high in the US, but also they are on the rise in Italy, for example. They're relatively high when you look at the rest of Europe, and that may just be because they tend to eat quite a lot of gluten in the pasta and the pizza and so on. Mm-hmm. It's almost like it's affecting everybody, but of course the way that the wheat is grown. It's huge amounts of pesticides. It's been heavily genetically modified to allow for those pesticides. So it's starting to become, quite an unnatural food. And that may well be why a lot of people are having a problem with it.
I love that you are highlighting and speaking to this from a different, geographical location so that we can kind of open up, because it does appear to, it seems as though, oh, why are there so many celiac cases? Oh, why are there so many gluten intolerant people, lactose intolerant people? And I think it's good for us to look at these things, because when it comes to our skin health, our organ health, our health in general, we wish that we can just run over to the store and pick up the first thing off the shelf and everything's going to be fine. And then I think sometimes when we are changing as adults and we're seeing reactions from things we were able to eat for so many years without any problems, I think that the tendency is to feel like something is wrong with me. Why am I breaking down? And what it could very well be is that these levels of artificial additives, preservatives, pesticides, etc., they're just building up to a point where now we need some relief. Does that sound right as a nutritionist, that could be what's happening?
Absolutely. And I mean, some of these things we know that, they end up being stored in the liver, and your liver can process them for so long until it reaches breaking point. And also, we see that with aging. We can all get away with things in our 20s and 30s that, maybe they're not the best choice for health, but it's like, and we get to a point where your body just goes, no, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, exactly that. So you said something very key right now. You talked about the liver. Okay, so glowing skin, and I know, and we will get to the juice, I promise y'all. We're going to ask Kate about topical things and about things we can eat to make our skin glow. We're going to get there. But this is why this is important, because I know for me, I had developed a case of rosacea, and it was right in the center of my face by my nose. And of course, having anything anywhere is not good. Having something right on your face in the center of your face, it's like, what is this? So I go to the dermatologist and he tells me, you have rosacea. I say, well, where did I get it from? I don't know. What's going to make it go away? I'm not really sure. This is just something once it appears, that's just kind of what you deal with now. Here's a tube of cream, or here's a prescription. Go get this and put it on your face. I am very holistic and I'm very detailed when it comes to things like this. So I go and I ask the pharmacist for more information. It turns out that the tube of cream will give me sun sensitivity and also may not clear up what I have. I was extremely frustrated. It's the center of my face, right? So it's not like I can shield it with clothing and stuff. So I'm like, then I could have a potential issue. Why am I saying all this? This kicks off this whole adventure. I end up finding a holistic practitioner that's similar to you, Kate, works with herbs and works with natural ways of detoxing. And I come to discover that skin conditions often are a reflection of overload in the liver, because our skin is a filter for our body. So you, lady, are cooking with gas. Tell us everything, because this is a big deal. And no one gets taught this. This was something I discovered along a journey of trying to get this completely taken care of, which it was naturally. So please, Kate, take it away. Tell us more about the liver-skin connection and why this is so important.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the liver is a very overworked organ. Has about 400 jobs that we know of in the body, but one of those is obviously it constantly filters toxins out of the body, and that's very important to remember, because some of the toxins can end up to essentially being stored in your liver, because it is a storage organ. You store sugar for use later with energy and all sorts of things in it, and that lowers the efficiency of the liver, which is not a great thing, because we need it running at full capacity because it's so important. But yes, as you say, if it's then got some toxins that it doesn't know what to do with, they can end up being, essentially they can get dumped in your skin. your blood is being filtered obviously all the way around your body, and your skin is often seen as being a sort of a less vital organ.
Mm-hmm.
So often things can end up, just sort of being left there rather than, put into something that might be maybe more vital. And as I say, it acts as that visible manifestation. So we can see sometimes when things are going on. And it's very interesting. I mean, in a lot of cultures, like traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurveda and so on, they have very complex ways of sort of mapping out the body and looking at different areas and seeing particular areas as related to particular organs. We probably had that tradition in Western herbalism at one time. It's sort of got a bit lost, but it's very, very interesting how we can see that and connect particular sort of emotions with different skin conditions and then so on with organs. So it's really fascinating. You can you can go down a whole rabbit hole on it, but yeah, very, very often when we see things in our skin, we think, actually just a bit of detoxing is going to actually really help to clear that out.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. So for someone who, maybe they're starting to see some things on their skin, and I know we're going to go with very general, kind of the most common things, because obviously we all are very unique. And this isn't meant to replace medical advice. We are not doctors here trying to tell you what to do. But we're giving some options of what some common generalities are. So let's say, someone is starting to, we'll start with this. What are 3 kind of general positive changes that women can make to start to maybe clear up their skin? They're starting to see some issues in their skin. What are 3 kind of common culprits or things they can remove and change to help themselves?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I feel it's probably not going to come as a huge surprise. So in terms of one of the major culprits, it is that ultra processed food, the so-called junk food, really high in those kind of hydrogenated fats, processed sugar, and just artificial stuff, the preservatives and the colorants and things that are just fake, as you say, that they're not really food.
Right.
Because obviously then that is, your body is having to process all of those. It's having to deal with a lot of toxins it doesn't know what to do with. So yeah, reducing those is always going to be a good thing. I would say the next most important thing to think about is proper hydration. We're all being told we need to drink more water, but some people, they do find it difficult. So again, making sure we get enough water, but also related to that, it's no good just drinking the water if it just goes straight through you. And in terms of our cell health, what we really have to think about is the balance of like omega-3s to omega-6. Because if we are having way too much of the omega-6, which most people are, then our cells can't form proper membranes, which means they can't hold on to that water. So when you see people with very dry skin conditions, usually it's one of 2 things. They're either not drinking enough water or they've actually got an omega-3, omega-6 imbalance. And that can also cause dry skin. So I often see that in people saying, I'm drinking loads of water. Yeah, but your cells can't hold on to it. So I would say definitely looking at that. And then the third thing I would say is add more fruit into the diet. And that is honestly, fruit is the number 1 beauty food.
I love this so much. You're making my heart sing. Here's why. So we are Los Angeles natives that moved to Michigan. In Michigan, it snows, it gets cold. There, we have a dark winter, so to speak. And so we were not used to this. In California, it is sunny generally all the time. In California, a rainstorm is a little bit of drizzle. It's that way. So when we moved here, the winters really became a time to hunker down and want all those cozy comfort foods. And I am so pleased to report that for anyone watching or listening, if that's you, and it seems like such a stretch to then go to fruit, I promise you this, fruit can become the most satisfying treat that you can snack on when you're watching television, and you will be delighted at the different tastes and textures, and even ways that you can make them sort of sweetie treats, and they're still way better. So something as simple as like melting a little bit of high quality dark chocolate and then having that with berries, or having that with your, or even little niblets. And, as you're making that transition, and then soon you're just like, oh, fruit is actually awesome. So yes, thank you for this, because it's nice to have practical things that we can kind of start to play with to kick us in the right direction. Now, when someone is trying to make these changes, right? We see commercially all the time, quick promises, put this on your skin and in 14 days, you're going to see a big difference. Naturally, I know it doesn't happen so fast. And even to be honest, chemically, it doesn't either. That is just a marketing ploy. But tell us, please, from a nutritionist, and you work with your clients, what is a good time frame, and what are some gentle things that people should start seeing so they know they're on the right track when they're making these changes? What is the good window there?
Yeah. I mean, often it does depend on where people are starting from. Because obviously sometimes, I work with people who are already making a lot of positive changes. And sometimes it's just then, it'll be one specific thing where, they've got one little issue like acne or eczema or something, and we can sort of really target that to particular foods that they can add in, and they might see that clear up, within a month. But obviously I do see a lot of people who, their diet is sort of, it's way off. It's what you call, the traditional sort of Western diet. And unfortunately, often it's that they've had some kind of health scare or something, and they reached the crisis point of, I need to fix this and I don't know what to do.
Right.
And then obviously, it's going to take a little bit longer. I always say to people, obviously be kind to yourself. Just start with small steps. And I like to focus on, rather than thinking all the things we've got to cut out of the diet, because that gets quite negative, but think of what we can add in. So we add in lots more fruit, start to add in these vegetables, think of fun, sauces and things to make things more interesting. And eventually we sort of crowd out, the junk. And I think the first thing most people experience with that is that they suddenly find that they start to get more energy, their mood starts to get better. And a lot of that is because we're improving the gut health. And that has a huge impact on your mood, on your energy. And people, I think sometimes they don't realize, because they think, I don't really want to change. But once they start to do that, they start to feel so much better that actually I want more of this.
Yes, that's absolutely what happened to me. So I can attest to that being very true. In the beginning, it was challenging because there was a whole kind of little routine that felt very ritualistic. We would come and relax. It's like, this time we're going to enjoy these treats and watch our television. And then pretty soon, as I was making those changes and feeling those positive benefits, you're absolutely right. It's something that now I look forward to because I know I'm doing something good. It feels good. I have no side effects from it. It's fantastic. So kudos to anyone wanting to make these changes. That is what you have to look forward to. Can you talk about a little bit about, because we're saying glowing skin, yes? So what about discoloration on the skin? What are some natural things that people can do to take care of that and see a change?
Yeah. I mean, obviously it depends on the cause of that. Often it's hormonal. I mean, obviously a lot of women in particular will get, skin coloration changes caused often by imbalanced hormones. And as people age as well, they get the sort of so-called age spots, which is the skin that builds up in the skin. And again, I mean, all of those things, it comes back to fundamentally the same kinds of things in the diet. When we're having a diet that's very heavy in sort of the processed foods and all the saturated fat, it's high in processed sugar, it's lacking in just enough proper hydration, in all those phytochemicals, the vitamins and the minerals and so on. That's when our hormones really go out of balance. And of course, because they're all connected, once one starts to go out of balance, very quickly they all do. And you end up with a chaos of of hormones essentially, and that's going to show in all sorts of skin issues and other issues. So essentially it comes back to having more plant foods, in particular, all those lovely fruits, eating the rainbow, getting every color that we can in there, and getting a real sort of balance of that, because that is going to give your body the tools that it needs to bring everything back into balance, because it's always fighting to get back into equilibrium. That's what it wants to do, but you've got to give it the ingredients to do that.
Very, very true. Very, very true. Okay. So how about this then? You, Kate, are going to go to a deserted island. And on this island, naturally, there aren't all the resources that you have now. So what is your best tip? What is going into your best packed suitcase to this island so you can maintain your glowing skin, which you clearly have? So give us the secrets. Tell us what you would take.
Oh, well.
I know, it's tough.
Absolutely. I mean, I can get some water there, because we do need lots of water. We can always boil that up, get it from evaporation. I think one of the best things you could take, I mean, you might have to take a freezer, but you can take bags of frozen berries. Would be a wonderful one if you could store them. Berries are such a good thing, because they're little powerhouses of nutrition. I mean, all of those dark coloured berries that we call berries, raspberries, strawberries, blueberries, blackberries, all of those things. One of the problems with them, though, in a lot of places at least, is they don't keep. And they can be quite expensive. So frozen berries are great because, obviously they'll keep a lot better, and you can take them out, you can put them in smoothies, you could put them in and, make little coolers with them. You can do all sorts of things with them. And they are absolutely fantastic. Tell you another one, absolutely fantastic, is red grapes.
Mm-mm.
And they often get overlooked as a bit it's a bit boring and ordinary. But they actually, they contain resveratrol, which is the most fantastic compound for, well, everything really. Mm-hmm. It kills the sort of senescent cells in your body, which we don't want. It's wonderfully anti-aging. It treats glycation. It treats oxidation, because it's an antioxidant. Basically anything that can go wrong with your skin, it treats. So you definitely want to have red grapes with you.
Ooh, I love it. I love it so much. It's been fantastic speaking with you. And I love how you have taken us on this journey to see not only what can be happening inside, how our skin can help to clue us in that we can heal ourselves naturally, and that it all starts on our plates. Good stuff, Kate. Tell us where we can continue to connect with you and find out more about you and your work.
Thank you. You can find me on my website, which is www.journeytojoycoaching.co.uk. And there's links there as well to all my social media. I share tips on Instagram, YouTube videos where I talk about various topics to do with healthy skin and nutrition and so on. I've just started doing TikTok videos as well, so you can find all the links are on my website.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of Your Best Podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, and even give us a review. And hey, don't forget, there are plenty of resources in the show notes for you. See you in the next episode. Woohoo!